but everybody who sat in that chair has smiled just as big as you did when they said I quit.
So I'm sitting there in the bunk room. It's late at night, and honestly, we weren't doing anything. And I'm like, I'm sitting here watching the clock go by for 25 an hour, being away from my family. And I saw the potential of all this. The schedule was out, how much what we needed to go to help serve these clients, and then honestly, how much I could have made in a 24-hour or 12-hour period, and then still being home. So that night, I talked to my wife a little bit about quitting and doing it full time, because it was still it wasn't guaranteed. I quit that day. I told my shift commander, I was like, "Hey man, I'm done. And I did it, and I didn't look back.
Welcome to DFW Grit. I'm Dr. James Taylor, and I'm your host, and this is more than just a podcast. We dive into the stories of the movers, the shakers, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs, right here in the DFW Metroplex. This is your home for authentic, real stories that prove what happens when you don't back down. Let's get to work. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of DFW Grit. Today, I got with me, I'm going to call you a good friend. I'm a good friend, Aaron Guerrero, and this is wild because normally my guests, if you will, they come from Facebook posts and things like that. Like, hey, I got a podcast. I'm doing this, that, and the other. You want to come in? And I was telling you beforehand, I'll do a little bit of research on somebody. That's kind of how this thing got started. Correct me if I'm wrong. I put a post out. Either I reached out to you, you reached out to me. We booked and then had to rebook. But we were fortunate enough to actually meet up just this last weekend with the Lone Star Dads, the Ruck, which you put on, which was an awesome time.
Thank you.
And it was wild. So we're walking through this trail around Eagle Mountain Lake. And I was telling him just a moment ago, I thought I had his life figured out. I was off on the start, but the part that stuck with me. This is clever. Stuck with me. So he was doing IVs, right? So he does mobile IVs. And just, hey, how'd you get into that kind of thing? He's like, I used to, do, correct me if I'm wrong, again, IVs on helicopters. And you're like, if you could put a needle in a 4-pound baby, you could stick damn near anybody. It's like, oh shit. Like I've stuck regular adults. I haven't stuck anyone while on a moving aircraft who I could fit in the palm of my hand. But so we were, again, fortunate enough to meet over the weekend here. So, Aaron, I appreciate you swinging in today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We just got started a little bit before we actually did all the intro and everything. So, do me a favor. Just recount that real quick. You left high school and then what?
All right. I left high school. My parents wanted me to stay home. I probably should have stayed home. Went up to school up in Denton, not at UNT, small little community college up there. Made it a semester, and then after that I was done. I just kind of drank my way out of school. Wanted to party. I was the good time guy, grew up watching movies like American Pie. So, yeah, I was that big loud jock coming into the party with 2 cases under my arm. It's real silly,
dude. Wisconsin rugby player, same thing.
Okay, right on.
And just for anyone who's catching up, so we're over 100 episodes in. If you're just joining us because Aaron also failed out of college twice for the exact same reason. Just I could drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, that was me back in the day. So I was up there in Denton. I worked every job you can think of. I did retail. I was working at Target while I was up living in Denton. After that, I moved to Plano, lived with my cousin for a while, worked at a bank, worked at a beer store, did handyman stuff, did roadside assistance. Still help my dad from odd jobs. He owns his own heating and air conditioning company. If he needed help, he'd text me or I'll text him, hey, you have any work this week?
Yeah.
After working in the bank and the beer store for a while, I just found myself going nowhere, just dead in everything. And I wasn't happy at all. And then funny story, I guess, how I became a medic. I was helping my dad at his house in Irving. I'm very blessed. My parents are still together, still in the same house I grew up in.
Did your dad still run the heating and AC company too?
He'll dabble, but he's more, retired to his chair, enjoying his life, right? So I was helping him pull up a dead tree, and then we heard screaming, thought it was neighborhood kids, and the screaming got louder and more distinct, and like, that's a grown man. And so we go out front, and he doesn't know this neighbor. It's a rental house. He comes running out, all 4 fingers at an angle chopped off.
Ooh.
He tried to get a rock out of a lawnmower without turning it off. But now that I learn about stuff like that, so we laugh at it, and because I call it job security. So my wife is a trauma ICU nurse, and we hear stuff like that. We're like, that's job security.
Yeah.
So we go help him. Dad's basic first aid. He's taught me basic first aid. I'm just helping this guy hold pressure. He's screaming. My dad knife hands him and says, "Stop it." Yeah, just calm down. So finally gets the guy to calm down, gets his name, calls 911. Irving Fire Department shows up. And after that, I was like, I could do that. Maybe a month later, I was in EMT school.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because your neighbor got his fingers chopped off.
Yeah. So I guess God's divine intervention, right? So hopefully we all learned something that day.
Just going off a little bit of the pre-record. So what year did you graduate high school?
06.
06. Okay. 06. So again, I apologize to the guy who lost his fingers. You ever seen the movie Major Pain?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, my leg. Like,
now you won't think about it.
Mind off that pain.
I love that movie.
Oh man, that's wild. Okay, so it had this. We'll call it divine intervention. God works in mysterious ways. They say
He does. He does.
It's like firefighters roll up, paramedics roll out. Like, hey, that's badass. So, like that moment, you decide to roll in. Is paramedic school, EMT school, same thing, different thing?
You got to go through EMT school, or what we call basic school, because you're an EMT basic, and then they have all these little intermediaries like EMT advanced, EMT intermediate, and I think there's another one.
Okay.
And then there's medic, and that's the highest one. And then when you have a medic, you can get all your other little certifications under that.
Okay.
But everyone has to go through basic school. So I went through the basic school, went straight through. Some people work as a basic after. I did work while I was in medic school. That was a fun, crazy long time. It felt like forever, but I just went straight through school. I wanted to be a medic. I wanted to do and see everything. I didn't want to be just the driver or the assistant. I wanted to do everything.
Does your designation, I'll say, determine kind of like your spot in the ambulance?
Yes, sir. Okay. So like EMT basic is BLS or basic life support. And then your EMT paramedic is your ALS or advanced life support.
Okay.
So we're doing a little more things. We're calculating drugs. The basic will do some drugs, aspirin, inhalers, easy, simple stuff, right? And we're moving into paramedic. We're looking at cardiac. We're looking at narcotics, more trauma. The basic is really first aid. I think everyone should go through basic school.
Fair.
Everyone learns basic first aid, simple stuff, learn how to use a tourniquet. Now, I don't know if you've heard this, but in local high schools around here, kids can graduate with their fire cert and their EMT basic cert all at 18.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll have an associate's degree with that. So I think that's awesome. You can go either route in Texas. You can get a degree in paramedicine or EMT through community college, and there's bachelor degrees in it too, or you get a certification. I went as quick as possible, so I went to the certification. It took right at 2 years, I think, is what it was. Just to hammer everything out.
So what did you do when you got done with that? Is that when did you go to the ambulance? Did you go to the Then we talked about sticking babies on a helicopter.
Yeah, so I had I guess I had a fun career, I would call it. I jumped around a lot, but I wanted to see and do everything. So I went with Care Flight. I'm sure everyone's heard of Care Flight, but I worked on their ground side. I was doing what we call IFTs or interfacility transfers as a basic.
Okay.
So basically, it was just 2 EMTs. We go pick someone up from one hospital and either take them home or take them to another hospital. They call us because they required some type of. They were either on oxygen or needed to be on some type of, needed a professional to watch them.
Got him.
A lot of the time, if they're admitted in the hospital and they get transferred out to a rehab or something, they want someone professional watching them.
That's fair.
Drips, right? Still people with broken bones too.
Yeah.
And then when it gets more complicated, those transfers, you have a medic or critical care medic. But that's where I started. So I would go to school and go to school in the evening and go to work during the day. And at the end of each basic school and medic school, you have an internship with the fire department. So it's 10 shifts. So there's 24s working for free, all clinicals, just like I'm sure you did. So I would go to the clinical for 24, go to work for 24. And then that third day I'd go to school from 6 to 10 at night and then do it all again. So yeah, that was a long.
And you did that for 2 years?
I did that for the last month. That was the internship. But just during work, it was usually like a 24, and then I'd be off a day, and then I'd do the school at night, and then do it again.
Man,
yeah, it was a lot.
How old were you during this time?
22, 23.
Okay,
yeah, still fairly young.
Yeah, so you could. Not to be like, the stereotypical, you could handle that kind of schedule.
Right. Yeah, I know. I look back at that. I'm 37 now. I was like, man, how did I do that? I was living out of my truck pretty much. I was blessed. I was living on my own at that. I was working at that beer store, got into EMT school. After I graduated that, the load got even heavier. So my dad let me come home, crash on the couch all through medic school. And then, I was always gone. So I lived out of my truck.
Yeah.
I'd either slept in the bunk room or took a nap in my truck.
Yeah, no, it was like when I was going through school, saying like I worked as a CNA, like a nursing assistant, right? And I would take the third shift. So I would do 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then on a good night, everyone was sleeping. So, I'd get all my study and homework done. This was after I failed out twice. When I went back in, that's when I get all my homework and studying done. And then I got my pick of classes because I would always take the early morning classes. No one's taking the 8 a.m. courses and the 9 a.m. courses, especially the 400 level, because those are all going to be, the people that, they want to sleep in and stuff. It's like, well, I was on my last chance. So I was like, sweet. I got my pick of classes. So I would do the same thing. Like I'd go to work at 10. At work, I would study and everything like that. I'd get off at 6. I'd go home. I'd eat. I'd shower, and I'd be at class at 8 a.m. I'd be done with class at noon, and then I'd take a quick nap, and then go to rugby practice, take another quick nap, and then do it all over again. But again, I was 24, 25 at the time, so I ain't doing that
No,
now.
no, no. 4 hours hurts. 4 hours of sleep is painful. Yeah, you feel your body vibrate now.
Right? Dude, like you look at the floor and like the carpet all looks like it's moving.
Everything's like I know I didn't take it.
Yeah, I know. Did I? Yeah. No, I did. It's Thursday.
6 or 7 hours is the sweet spot now. Yeah. I never hit 8.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people like this. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. In all reality, neither do I. The 7 will be about my max, and I'll just kind of roll over. I'm like, I guess it's time now.
Brain's ready to work.
Yep. Yeah. So we did all that. We went into, you're doing the flight medic stuff, but you don't do that now. You do mobile IVs now.
Yes, sir. So my last real drug.
Talk to me about the transition between those two.
Yeah. In 2020, so I heard about the IV thing just by seeing it in the IV bars or the drip bars. That's what they call it. Okay, yeah. I had never heard of the mobile service. I've heard about it when people were doing it in Vegas. They do the mobile thing. Mm-hmm. They go to their hotel. Here in DFW, I was living in Mansfield at the time with my wife, and there was a drip bar nearby. And every medic always has more than one job. So I'm scrolling through Indeed one day.
You did say that this weekend.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through Indeed that one day, and I found it. I'm like, this is right around the corner. And I think because I lived so close, they were, I went and interviewed, same day, got the job. And then it was pretty simple.
Was it basically, can you stick someone? Yeah, sweet.
Basically, they watched me do an IV. They watched me mix a bag, and they're like, you're good to go. You're hired. And I'm like, this was almost too easy. So, but that makes me think, like, why'd you hire me so quick? Not that I thought I was, maybe they were just desperate. I was just happy to get the job too. Yeah. But so I learned everything I learned from them. And then I went back to work. That place actually closed. And then during 2020 and through 21, I was working strictly pediatrics. I was working in the ER, Dallas Children's, and then I was flying in the helicopter for Cook Children's in their teddy bear transport team. Nice. Yeah, I love that name, Teddy Bear Transport.
That's awesome.
They do a lot of good work. They really do. They're good people there. I would say hopefully they remember me as a good medic, but a terrible employee. Yeah. I was.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah. At that time I was. I've burnt myself out. I was, before that I worked everything I could. I was working 80 to 100 hours a week at sometimes. Ooh. Yeah. I wanted to see and do everything, especially when I was younger. Yeah. I wanted to see and do everything. And boy, did I. When I was flying for Cook one day, I was in my bunk room and I was working 1099 for another IV company, a mobile service. And they're great people too. They, I still speak to them today. They supported me along this journey, opening my own company. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there in the bunk room. It's late at night and, honestly, we weren't doing anything. And I'm like, I'm sitting here watching the clock go by for 25 an hour being away from my family. And I saw the potential of all this. The schedule was out, how much, what we needed to go to help serve these clients. And then honestly, how much I could have made in a 24-hour or 12-hour period and then still being home. So that night, I talked to my wife a little bit about, quitting and doing it full time because it was still it wasn't guaranteed. You're not clocking in. You got to really go market yourself and try and make your own, which I'm okay doing. I quit that day. I told my shift commander, and I was like, hey man, I'm done. I'm not coming back. Uh-huh. And I did it and I didn't look back. Yeah. So it was really cool as far as being able to go tell my wife, hey, I just did it, love. I'm sorry. I did it. And she was just like, oh, I knew you would. She just knew. She knows me. I'm very blessed. But I taking everything I learned from that, working in 911, working in transfers, working in ERs, and then being burnt out, that was really the catalyst to making me go, mm-hmm. I watched my dad doing business. I could have been an entrepreneur, and now's my time. And I did it. Just jumped in both feet.
How old were you at this point?
Let's see. That was in 21. So about 32, 33.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's wild. Like I just watching you tell that story, and I know this has happened before. I think this is the first time that personally in the interview that I've actually caught it in the moment. But everybody who's sat in that chair has smiled just as big as you did when they said I quit. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
okay. I guarantee it's happened before, but this was the first time. Maybe you just have a better smile than everybody else. But this was like the first time where it's like, holy shit, like this happens all the time. Because it's getting up to that point, dude. It's terrifying. Is that because,
Yeah.
like you said, like yeah, you're working 80 to 100 hours in a week, but it's guaranteed.
Hmm.
The money is guaranteed. But like you said, you're just weighing it. Like I'm sitting there and in a bunk by myself. I would way rather be home with my wife. Do you have kids at that time or no?
I
You have kids
did.
now?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
do. Yeah. We have 3 girls.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, sitting in a bunk by yourself, like, yeah, I mean, the paycheck's getting bigger, but I don't want to be here.
And
Right.
that's it. I felt like I was wasting away, honestly, and I know that those jobs, you are on call. You're waiting for, the worst time in someone's life
Mm-hmm.
to be called out to do something. Or if you're in the ER, you're waiting for the next one. However you play it out. To me, I think I just was, those jobs are necessary. More power to those guys who can do it for 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
The men and women who do that. But I don't think I could. At that point, I think I was done. Either I know I didn't take care of myself mentally. I wasn't taking care of myself physically.
Yeah.
So all that compounded and I just was not in a good place. And I knew I didn't want it anymore. I knew I didn't want to just sit there and wait for that bell to go off anymore.
So then what happened the next day?
The next day after I told my wife, I jumped on full steam ahead, man, and changed our entire dynamic, family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't let anything hold me back. In just like we were talking a little bit ago, it's hard. I don't take no very well. Yeah. Someone telling me no or that you can't. I don't like that either. I don't like being told I can't. Why not? So
like I'm sure you had those kind of people. They're like your wife,
sure.
like she's like, I knew you were gonna do this. So she was
Mhm.
prepared in some way, shape, or form. But like, I mean, what about there must have been others that are like, wait, you quit? You quit this secure paycheck thing
Mhm.
for this thing where right now you are totally relying on yourself? Like, even generally speaking, like I started the chiropractic office thing. I started this, I'll say poorly, because same thing. Like I signed my lease, but I did no prep work beforehand. I didn't have any networking meetings. I didn't have any contacts. I signed up to pay bills, and then I built a business as opposed to the other way around it. So like, how did that work in your experience? Because if I'm reading the story right, it was kind of the same thing. You're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm out. I'm doing this thing now, and basically you're starting from scratch again.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I wish, even my wife said, she goes, I wish you would have planned it better.
Yeah,
But that's her.
you can
And
always play it better the second time.
yeah. But I was tired and I just knew I've always had that sense, or I guess that will built into me or taught into me, trained into me that I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's never I'm down or I quit or it's, sure, I feel down on myself every now and again, just like everyone else does. But I was like, I'll figure it out. Even with it drives my wife nuts. She's, that's what you always say. And I was like, but don't I always? Like,
exactly. But
yes.
don't I
She
always?
goes, yes, you do. And I wish I didn't have to always get to that point where, yeah, I'll figure it out. I wish like, oh, yeah, I got it. Or I knew I studied or whatever. But I took my bootstraps and said, I'll figure it out.
So what'd you do though?
So
What did you end up figuring out?
when I quit, I've always known I've had the gift of gab. I can talk to anybody. And I think
I'd buy
that. Thank you. I think being a good medic, you have to be able to talk to anyone. You're doing your job, you're talking to your team or you're talking to your patient. There's everyone else screaming and yelling in front of you or family, whatever. I've always been able to talk to anyone. So I took that skill and I transferred into business as in getting to meet people like you, talking to my clients and seeing what their needs are and mostly just listening. That's what makes a good conversationalist, just listening. You let someone else talk. You absorb what they're talking. You're not just you're not just hearing and waiting to respond. You're absorbing and you're listening. And as much as everyone talks about Elon, I like how he sits there, absorbs it, and then like 5 seconds goes by and then he responds.
Yeah.
Because he's listening, actively listening. So I took that skill and transferred it over to my clients. And those same clients, when I was working for that 1099, followed me over to my business.
All right.
So yeah. So when I quit working for Cook, I had still been doing the 1099. I did that for like a year after that. And then I finally just told my wife, hey, we're doing our own thing. Let's do our own thing. We can do this. I can be creative. I can, as much as good as this is and how good as these people are to me, I'm ready to build. And that's what I told her. I wanted to build something with our name on it. So I just took those skills as far as being able to communicate. I knew I've always been good with my hands. I know I'm good at IVs.
Yeah.
I've really been blessed in that skill as far as being a medic. And doing it over and over, you get good at it, right? So being able to to listen to my clients, to find their needs without them, always telling me. Not everyone's going to tell you. You just really need to listen. I'm sure
True.
you see that a lot with your
Yeah.
patients. That, and then, like I said, one stick. When people are in that environment, as far as like what we would consider like an elective IV, they don't want to be stuck for however many times. Yeah. I always say I'm here to make you feel better, not worse.
Yeah.
And so that's really carried over and helped me well.
It's interesting. So, your ability to get people to talk and, kind of get information out of them, let them talk.
Mm-hmm.
I told you this weekend, we have a new associate here. And so what I did is I found a bunch of networking meetings and stuff for him to go to. And he's at his first one today. And like right before I left, I'm like, just a couple quick things. Number one, like you want to get in conversations where you talk the absolute least. Because it is, you get people to talk about themselves, and then that person's gonna walk away and be like, "This was the greatest conversation I ever had. I love that guy." And that guy didn't say 3 words. It's like,
That's it.
it's just a matter of just get people to talk about themselves. And whether it's business or even just, general, just running
life.
into people.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, I'll call it a trick or almost a life hack, if you will. If you can get people to talk about themselves, it makes you look amazing. And then
I
if you're
agree.
building a business, like literally, I'm just going to get people to talk about themselves, and then they'll walk away liking me, even though I said 6 words.
That's exactly it. And some people, they're like, "Oh, you're just in it for the business." Well, it is my business, but I still care about my people.
Mm-hmm.
If you really just invest in people, they've know that intent has a smell.
100%.
I think I can tell from some of your content you've read and listened to Jocko and Leif Babin.
Yep.
Okay, so you understand intent does have a smell.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just honest in what you're doing and you believe in what you're quote unquote selling, everything can just come to you.
Yep.
Honestly, it just comes to you. But you gotta that intent has a smell, and you have to have good intentions.
I mean, absolutely true. I would also put in there one thing that I've learned over time is that you have to have boundaries.
Yes, sir.
Because like that's again with the new guy, I've got a list of things I want him to accomplish to demonstrate knowledge in, if you will, and just kind of marks that he's going to hit. And as we're going over it, and one of the marks is like, I want you to dismiss your first patient. Like that's a thing that I expect of him, because we're not meant to work with everybody, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, same thing. Like, I'm sure you've had difficult, patients or clients in your IVs business. I mean, obviously in the hospital thing, it's a totally different story. But I mean, there are some people like, you were meant to do IVs. I wasn't, right? But the same kind of thing. Like there are people who are meant to be your clients, and there are others who weren't. Hell, you've probably run across this, people trying to talk you into putting more stuff in the bag,
sure,
but not on the bill.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So it's the same thing. Like, and I think, just from a personal standpoint, I think that builds that intention that, I'm accepting people on my terms, I think would be a good way to put it.
I like that. Yeah. I definitely have built boundaries. I've never been shy to say no, especially if it's a day where I've already dedicated, this is my family day.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people tell me, I tried calling you yesterday and it went straight to your voicemail. I had my phone off. Yeah. Sorry, but I'm getting back to you today. Definitely have had people that have, they're trying to get something for free. And that's okay. That's always going to happen. And I want to help people as much as I can. But what I've come to realize, and I think not a lot of people or enough people do, I know my worth. I know what I'm valued at. I know what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And you're paying for my time. And something I learned from my dad, you can have my money. You can't have my time, because you can't get my time back. And if you want my time's expensive.
Yeah.
So that's something I try to carry over into the business.
How did you determine your worth?
I knew what I was good at. I'm good at a skill that not a lot of people aren't. I'm good at something that most people usually kind of get squeamish and turn away from. I'm good at caring for people. All these things that added up that I knew about being a good medic. And then I guess probably having a little bit of that bitterness of having not a good paycheck, throughout that medic career. And I was, I'm really good at this, and people are sick and they want to feel better. This is what I'm going to charge for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I really determine my own self-worth. I'm very blessed. I have great self-worth that I get that fulfillment from my wife and my kids and my family. But I think everyone, including myself, you need to have self-worth.
Yeah.
I struggled with that a long time. I used to talk to myself, that self-talk. I used to have nasty self-talk to myself. That was a hard struggle for me to get rid of. I used, I'm sure you, as a man playing rugby, you talk to yourself a certain way. I grew up playing football. You talk to yourself a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're motivating yourself, but really subconsciously in the back of your brain, you're kind of bringing yourself down.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's I'll say, I don't want to use the word struggle, but that's the only word in my head. It's an ongoing struggle. It's an ongoing practice. That's a better way.
Yes.
It's like if you follow on Instagram, like every single day on there, I start the day with what I call my morning pages, and it's a full page of just positive affirmation kind of stuff, because again, it sets my intention, sets my tone for the day, and there's nothing in there about no or can't or won't. It's everything is an I will kind of statement, or I'm going to kind of statement.
I love that,
because it's like, you're absolutely right. The shit that you would say to yourself in high school on the field, in hindsight, probably not the best. It was a whole lot of if this then that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or if you don't do this, then you fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I was putting a whole lot of pressure on myself. Why don't I just go out there and just perform to the best of my ability, kind of thing. But even that kind of talk, I'm going to perform to the best of my ability. Like, there's just part of the back of my head, well, that sounds kind of weak. Like, no, it's not fucking weak, but it's also just, it's pulling from everything that was drilled into you, kind of way back then. So to kind of bring this down and bring it more into present day, like, where do people find you? What do you offer? How does someone, man, I like his story. I don't know a whole lot about the whole IV thing yet. How does that whole thing work?
So from the beginning, I'm on all the socials. We haven't even been open a year yet for my own company. Building everything up. The website's in process. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that jazz right there. I'm very blessed that referrals have been keeping me going. Meeting good guys like you, getting involved with the dads group, which it's been a blessing getting to meet like-minded dads. I've been always not, I guess searching is the word, but looking for like-minded dads like that in the neighborhood here. How the IV thing works. So a lot of people, it's still up and coming. I feel like, I think it's really blown up, obviously, since 2020. It was huge, ever since when in March, April, May of 2020, it blew up huge. Now there's more regulation coming out. There's, we're still able to do mobile therapy. You see all these bars popping up, IV bars, drip bars, whatever you want to call them. To research it the most, I would say the most people I see are acutely ill. So they're going to get on Google. They're going to look up IV therapy or mobile IV therapy. You'll see my name pop up, but the website's not there yet. But how it works is you give me a shout. We'll set up a call. We'll set up a little conference call, not even a conference call. We're on the phone 20 minutes. I ask you a few questions. I come out and see you. Kind of like the same questions we went over when we met, and we'll go from there. And then what I really like to do is I have different packages. Everything starts at 150 and works its way up from there. But what I like to do, my most popular package, the one we did, was the Myers. But what I like to do is I talk to folks as far as what's bothering you. What is your goal today with IV therapy? How do you want to feel after your infusion today? And then I try to tailor it to them. I like to make it more custom for them. Everyone has, I guess, a menu, and you see that menu, you see what's there. You have the allergy killer or the hangover cure, all this stuff, which is a lot of it is the same thing. But then I really like to get into, that's when we go by talking to people. I want to hear what's bothering you. I want to hear what your goals are. I want to, I don't want to just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. See you later. Yes, sir.
Well, no, and it was wild too, because, like I said, we met this last weekend at a Ruck with the Dads group. Your interview will be coming out after them. Side note, if this is your first one, scroll back to the other one with Joe and the Drill on. It's going to be a good episode. But no, so we did a 5 mile ruck around Eagle Mountain Lake, and we got done. I was like, hey, I'm doing this fast. Made it, by the way. Made it to dinner on Sunday.
All right.
Made it to dinner on Sunday.
Right on.
But dude, I'll tell you what, like the rest of the day, and it was stupid too, because I got home and I was just sitting after the ruck, as one will do, and then I got up and little creaky in the quads, but the wife's like, what happened? I'm like, I did something stupid. She goes, what'd you do? I'm like, well, I forgot I did legs yesterday. And then we went and rucked around. But then it got up and moving, and like, dude, for all intents and purposes, like, yeah, I sat there for about 15 minutes, which will give anybody's muscles a chance to tighten up and, get a little stiff. But I got up and just kept moving the rest of the day. And I don't think without that IV, I guarantee I would have taken a lot more of those sit breaks.
That's awesome.
But no, dude, I felt like $1 million after that. And again, too, like you said, like a lot of stuff is like acute care of sick people. But you told me right before you came in, you just got done with a regular. You got people that you see once a month, once every other week, just for just pick me ups kind of thing, right?
Yes, sir. So I do have clients that I see on a biweekly basis. I have clients that I see monthly. My high performers, I'd say I'd see them monthly. They'll come in and or I'll go see them. I mean, and I'll see them in the office. I'll see them in the home or their home office, and they're set up and they're still working.
Yeah.
They're
People
still,
don't have to like stop.
no, you don't have to
do
take
this.
You don't, but I do tell everyone, take an hour out of your day. You're always busy. You don't have a lot of time to sit for yourself. Everyone I meet, not everyone, but I don't believe in absolutes. 9 out of 10 people I meet, they don't take the time to care for themselves. They're caring for everyone else.
You come and care for me while I keep doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
That got me jacked up in the first place.
Exactly.
Preach to the choir, my friend.
I tell everyone, okay, you're here, you're tethered to this IV, you can't go anywhere. Take this time for yourself, even if it's just sitting and being quiet, or you and I will conversate. You can put your phone down, you can get off the laptop. Not everyone does, but I try to tell everyone, you should take this time.
Give them the opportunity.
Yeah, I want to just remind them.
Maybe they'll do it on the next visit.
I tried to. And it's almost like being a bartender, because when they're tethered to you, then they start pouring out. And then I think also that's another gift that I have. I'm blessed that I have good friends, and they look to me, maybe not for advice, but just a soundboard, it's something. Yeah. And a lot of my clients do that.
Yeah, one of those faces that people just tell you their life story.
I think so. I do. You wouldn't believe some of the stories I've heard in the back of the ambulance or in someone's home.
I can just imagine.
Yeah.
So, real quick, one more time. You said people should look you up on social?
Yes, all the socials, Facebook, Instagram.
What's your name on social?
Freedom Performance IV. You'll find us on Facebook and Instagram at Freedom Performance IV.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Dude, Aaron, I appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you.
Guys, as always, like I said, like, share, follow, give Aaron a ring. I end every episode of this, and I don't think it's any more different today than any other time. You will learn more here by accident than elsewhere by design, right here on DFW Grit. That's Aaron. I'm Dr. Taylor. We'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys.